Thank you, Diane, and good morning, and welcome to everyone present here and also those who may be joining later on YouTube. I'm Ann Marinello, and I will be the service coordinator today. Our minister, Reverend Dr. Leon Dunkley, is away today, but we are so glad to welcome Jane Dwinell, a retired UU minister, to our pulpit. And I'll tell you more about her later, but I just found out that she was friends with Elaine Tiller, and she was part of, and has spoken here a number of times before, both during Elaine's tenure, and she was also at Daniel Jantos's, what do you call it? Installation, and has preached when he was here as well, and so she's kind of a longtime friend. So some general housekeeping announcements. We do have large print hymnals at the back there if anyone would like to help themselves to using them. We have hearing devices back there as well. Gentle reminder to turn off your cell phones. And if you are new here, we welcome you to sign our guest book at the back of the church. And then all are invited to, I don't know if we're having a coffee hour today or a lemonade hour, but we're having refreshments after church on the porch. Okay, so there will be something out there afterwards for getting together. There are also a few special announcements, many of which are in the program, but I especially wanted to mention that there's a meeting after church today in the parlors about our church's finances, which everyone is invited to join this discussion and share your ideas. We're also planning our first circle dinner of the year this Saturday, October 14th, here in the social hall. I also want to mention our holiday wreath sale, which is in full swing. And Joanne will be here after the service too, if you'd like to order a wreath. But sale is coming along well, and Mary, okay. You did have your name down, and then I thought Joanne said she was doing it, so if you'd like to order a wreath, knowing they are beautiful and it's a way of supporting our church, please check with them, one of them, after the church service. I also understand Ann Dean has something she wanted to share.
Good morning, everyone. I actually have two announcements. The first announcement is along the lines of our fundraisers this fall. We did the bulb sale, we're on to the wreath sale, and in October, we will be selling soups on the green on Sundays and Mondays. And I have this wonderful sign-up sheet right here with lots of blank spaces that you can put your name into. So if you would like to volunteer to sell soup, it's short times, either an hour or 2 hours. I will be downstairs in the social hall, and you can sign up for that. Then my second announcement, I'm wearing the hat of the financial committee chair. We were informed that at the annual meeting, there were many of you who didn't understand the financial matters of the church and would appreciate it if we were a little bit more transparent. So to that end, we are including in this morning's service, as well as the next two services, information, all of the information about the finances of the church. So please take your time and read this carefully. If you have any questions, I'll be downstairs during coffee hour and happy to answer any questions. And if you'd like further information, again, there's a meeting right after church at 11:30, and I think Cliff Johnson is going to be here to talk to you about the finances of the church and go a little bit into how we arrange and juggle, literally, the monies that come in and the monies that go out. So thank you so much for your attention to this.
Is Ken Woodhead making the soup?
Yes, Ken Woodhead is making the soups. He has not said that he needs help. He just needs help on the green.
Okay.
Setting up, serving, and breaking down.
And the coffee hour is
Okay, sorry. Coffee hour is out on the porch?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be
Lemonade
there. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other announcements there's some in the back of the program, I know, but is there anyone else who is anxious to say something? Come into this place of peace and let its silence heal your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of prophecy and power and let its vision change your heart. This is the time in our service for a few moments of silent meditation. I have a brief reading and then I will ring the singing bowl to begin and end this time of quiet. So this is a reading by Ralph Waldo Emerson entitled "These Roses." These roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are for what they are and exist with God today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. Before a leaf bud has burst, its whole life acts in the full-blown flower. There is no more. In the leafless root, there is no less. In nature, it is satisfied, and it satisfies nature in all moments alike. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eyes lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we live with nature in the present above time. So today I'm so glad to welcome Jane to our service, to our church, to our community, to come back and speak to us. I heard her speak a couple months ago when she came to the Thompson Senior Center and spoke about her new book, Alzheimer's Canyon, which she will tell you about, but about her journey with her husband, Sky, when he was diagnosed with dementia. Early stages. The Alzheimer's Canyon is a place no one ever really wants to go, but so many of us, probably all of us, have had some connection with that place in our lives through family members, friends, neighbors. And so we hope this will shed light on that experience for those with it and for those caring for them. Jane's a retired nurse, a freelance writer, and a UU minister. And she and her husband share how they navigated their journey, balancing pain and loss and confusion with gratitude and wonder, humor, honesty, love, and compassion. Jane.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Just a warning, I may cry, and you may cry, and that's okay. I'd like to start with something my husband, Yardley, wrote, entitled My Spiritual Life. He wrote this about 3 years after he was diagnosed with dementia. What I believe, a work in progress. As a species, we human beings have a great capacity to feel and act for good and/or for harm in close to equal power. This power extends to the capacity to foul our own nests with overpopulation and excess consumerism, leading to the extinction of hundreds of thousands of life forms, including our own. The wheels have already been set in motion. Mass extinctions have become inevitable. How far will they go? Remarkably, despite numerous opportunities and threats, we have so far avoided using nuclear weapons again, our most imminent threat of mass extinction. Continuing to stay alive and love as the technology of war and death ramp up on all sides is cause for celebration. What we call nature will continue. Nature doesn't need us to keep doing what she's been doing so successfully for over 4 billion years. Building mountains, eroding them back down, floating continents around over the tectonic plates under them, the whole shebang greased with molten rock and iron. Whenever I spend time in the familiar landscape of my Vermont home, I'm reminded of the power that creates it and how minuscule my concerns are in comparison. The mountains are always there for me, without complaint, so solid and strong, ready to receive whatever human-based whining I have to offer. The lakes and rivers, that too are there for me, always flowing, moving, creating. Thank you, rocks and water. 3 years ago, I was hit with a doozy when a PET scan noted problems with my brain's utilization of glucose, its primary nutrient, adding that the scan was also consistent with early signs of Alzheimer's disease. Bring on the devastation. The neurologist's mournful tone and the content of his words combined to feel like nails in a coffin, and my spirit sank like a stone. The doctor assessed my remaining lifespan at 6 to 10 years, offered me Aricept, and had very little else to say as I walked out of the office, stunned. All I could focus on were the losses, big and small, including the loss of my identity, who I was. I didn't know where that could lead except to more losses. I floated in and out of denial for several months. Going for long bike rides helped to ground me. There are 2 bike paths where I live that run along Lake Champlain, and I went there in all kinds of weather when I needed to find peace. There's a beautiful sculpture next to one of the bike paths on the edge of the water, a replica of standing stones, and I would find myself going there. Besides the sculpture, there are vestiges of shipwrecked boats, artistic in their own way, and beyond them the broad lake, with the Adirondack Mountains towering over the western shore. Going there provides me with a sense of mystery, a sense of things being unfinished, helping me be comfortable with my diagnosis, my dementia, not knowing where this is leading. I can find peace being there. I can lose my terror. I can understand that the world is still unfolding, and so am I. At the end of that bike path, there's an accessible treehouse. I like to climb up and nest myself in this giant oak.
It's a very alive place. I've always loved trees, being in the woods, and here I can get a taste of that without leaving town. I respect the woods because the life forms there know what to do, and they always have. Knowing that I too am a life form, it takes the pressure off. Somewhere inside, I too know what to do. I too am part of creation and the unfolding of all, wherever we are headed. My wise niece once told me, everything will work out okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end. That God has better plans for you than you do for yourself. That the goddess provides. And that you are always embraced by an endless love. Well, I don't know about you, but I am terrible at remembering names. I've tried all the tricks one is supposed to use to be able to do that, but nope, that's not one of my skills. And thank goodness for name tags. I'm very happy to see the name tags here. But I remember so many details about so many people, even if I have forgotten their names. The young apple farmer with scoliosis, the sawmill operator who was one of the first in the nation to have his fingers reattached, the woman in labor who came tearing out of the shower with nothing on but a shower cap, screaming that the baby was coming, the hospice patient of German ancestry that offered me peppermint schnapps at 10 a.m. as we sat at his kitchen table talking about death, the nurse's aide who held my hand in the emergency room after I was in a terrible car accident when I was 19. So many memories. But are these memories important to my life? What if I forgot them? Would it matter? Thinking about memory suddenly became more important to me when my husband Sky was diagnosed with dementia in 2016. I had known something wasn't quite right with him for a few years, but my fears were confirmed when he no longer knew how to do carpentry work, nor back up a car or a boat. When I met Sky, he was driving a 26-foot box truck delivering produce to Vermont food co-ops. He could organize that truck with precision and then back it into the smallest spaces. I was in awe. After being together for 6 months, we decided to build a small cabin together. I knew absolutely nothing about carpentry and could barely swing a hammer, but Sky taught me all the ins and outs of power tools, rafters and soffits, insulation and drywall. We went on to build 6 more houses, one with our teenage children, and spent several years helping people rebuild in the New Orleans area after Katrina. Sky and I loved the water and owned a series of boats, from kayaks and canoes to sailboats and small liveaboard boats. He could maneuver them anywhere and in any weather, until he couldn't. Neither of us understood this. He blamed the wind. Then he was helping our daughter rip up carpeting and lay hardwood flooring in her new home, and I could hear them arguing. "No, that's not how it goes, Sky," Dana said emphatically. "What? How could Sky not know how to lay flooring?" I was in the living room applying fresh paint to the walls in tears. Something was definitely wrong with Sky. It was the next summer when we were renovating a duplex with our son Sayre and his partner Emma. The Sky finally acknowledged that things were not quite right with his brain. He would find himself taking a measurement, walking to the piece of lumber on the sawhorses, picking up the saw, and having no idea what to do. He finally agreed to be tested, and the diagnosis came in, probable early stage Alzheimer's. He was 66 and in otherwise perfect health. We were stunned. The next day we left on a long planned trip to France. His French was impeccable, but he couldn't read a map or understand how to use his metro ticket. We talked and processed this devastating news as we walked the streets of Paris. Sky assumed he would eventually forget me and Dana and Sarah, but he was mostly afraid that he would forget his self, or as he said, the loss of my identity, who I was. Once home, Sky dove into reading everything he could about dementia. He talked about his experience with everyone he met, and we eventually started a blog and went on a US-wide sermon tour speaking at 25 congregations until he was no longer able to. We read books about memory, what it is and what it means. It turns out that there are several different kinds of memory, ranging from memories of how to do things, ride a bike, tie our shoes, to memories of things that happened to us, however imperfect or incomplete those memories might be, to memories of factual information. What is 2 + 2? When did the Civil War begin? Where is the bathroom? Then Sky wrote this. As the attacks on our intellects and memory continue, we feared changing into people neither we nor our loved ones would value spending time with. How can we not become strangers? What is left for us if the glue of memory no longer holds ourselves together? What is left for us if the glue of memory no longer holds ourselves together? As time went on, Sky gradually lost the ability, the memory, of how to do many things. What clothes to wear, how to button buttons or zip zippers, how to write, how to read, how to ride a bike, how to play cards, how to get into bed, how to pull up the covers. Did he still know his self? I have no idea, but I could still see his self, who he was. Sky spent his last year in a memory care facility. Due to the pandemic, I was not allowed to see him, but we spoke often on the phone. And he was still there. He would call, telling me he was on his way home, catching a plane or a train. Or he would call and say he was traveling, and he would tell me about his adventures. Once he called to say he had lost his passport, and could I get him a new one? I played along with whatever situation he found himself in, never contradicting him, but instead asking him questions. What are you seeing? Where did you go? Where are you going next? He lived in a world of hallucinations, but he was still definitely him. After a while, instead of ending our phone calls with a mutual "I love you," he began to say, "Thank you for loving me." The staff loved him too. He walked the corridors, interacting with other residents, always trying to soothe the conflict. He'd been a professional mediator. Singing songs, making jokes. Sky was one of those people that had a song lyric for every occasion. He could remember them all. Me, I can't remember any of them. It's incredible. When he was dying, I was finally allowed to be with him. As he moved in and out of consciousness, he was still singing. And he seemed happy. He told me I was beautiful. And he told me the end was near. At that point, he had lost all memory of how to care for himself physically, from how to eat to how to use the bathroom. But he still remembered songs, and he still remembered me. And somehow he knew his life was coming to a close. He may not have remembered his self, but I sure did. It was all there in its blazing glory. And he was definitely a person I would value spending time with. And that was true for Dana and Sarah, who also came to spend time with him. Is it only memory that's the glue that holds ourselves together? I think it's so much more than that. Our essential self is always there, no matter our memory, no matter our life experiences. Our memories may enhance or help develop ourselves, but our pure essence remains always. And I think there's another kind of memory, emotional memory. I imagine we all have negative emotional memories, but I expect we all have positive ones too. When I think about all those people whose names I can't remember, I can remember how I knew them and where, and I can also remember the emotion related to that person. I loved spending time with the apple farmer. He told great stories and was very patient with my newbie nursing skills. I was incredibly scared of the very nice and gracious fellow who had lost his fingers. I hardly dared touch him, wondering if I would be able to care for him without causing further damage. I laughed and laughed with the new mom about the wild circumstances of her baby's birth. She barely made it back to the bed. I was delighted by the hospice patient who was so forthcoming about his condition and his beloved schnapps. I was so grateful for the nurse's aide who soothed me, scared and in pain, as I waited for medical help in a cold, stark ER. I can still feel her loving care 50 years later. And when I remember Sky these days, of course I remember all the things we did together, the houses we built, the children we raised, the waterways we cruised, the adventures we had. But mostly I remember the love and our strong, clear, deep relationship. I trusted him and he trusted me all the way to the end. Love and trust, what could be more important? After Sky died, as I was going through his things, I came across a small piece of paper with these words by Louise Elder written in his hand. Please don't forget me, and please don't stay away because of the way my mind acts. I can still feel you. I can still remember with my heart. And a heart memory is maybe the most important memory of all. Amen.
Thank you, Jane.